Chapter 1, The Glyph in the Grave. The city of Vornis Theta never slept, its metal lungs hissed steam through vents in the pavement, while neon glyphs pulsed like artificial veins across tower glass. In the subnet slums, the glow didn't reach. Only the hum of dying machines and the occasional clatter of boots reminded people they were still under Dominion control. Kayla Marin crouched inside a rust-walled junction vault, fingers moving across the cracked screen of a black market data rig. Her breath slowed. Each second counted. Come on, decrypt, damn you. The Dominion's file was locked with dual-layered memory cloaks, military grade. She'd seen such encryption only once before. The last time, her mother died 2 days later. Her heart ticked faster. Still, she didn't stop. A bar blinked green. Access granted. The file opened, revealing only a single line of text pulsing in red. The Bloodkeepers were never extinct. Check lineage, Marcode _773 Kefra. She froze. Marcode _773 Kefra was her maternal family tag. She remembered seeing it on the old identity scroll her grandfather used to keep under his cot. A dead language. No one used scrolls anymore. Before she could react, her data rig sparked and shut down. Static shrieked in her earpiece. Unauthorized trace detected, came a machine-voiced warning. Too late. Kayla yanked the rig out, shoved it into her satchel, and bolted through the maintenance hatch. Her boots hit the grated walkway hard. Behind her, the clatter of approaching drones echoed in mechanical rhythm. They were already here. She ducked into the steam tunnels, heart racing, every twist of pipe and wire burned into her muscle memory. The city's underbelly was her map. She'd survived here since she was 14, ever since the Dominion soldiers came for her mother in the middle of a rain-soaked night. The memory clawed at her, uninvited. Her mother's last words, whispered through bloody teeth, "If they find out about the glyph, they'll do to you what they did to me." Kayla touched her lower back through her tunic. Even now, the glyph burned faintly, an ancient shape no scanner recognized. Her mother had called it a whisper from old Earth. Back then, she thought it was a birth defect. Now, she wasn't sure anymore. She slipped into the shadow of a scrap elevator, catching her breath. Somewhere above, the drones whirred, their infrared sensors sweeping left, then right. A low beep told her they were triangulating. Then, just as quickly, the sound faded. Kayla exhaled and made her way back to the surface levels, emerging into the maze of hanging fabrics and broken market stalls where black market vendors hawked forbidden data, rusted augments, and scavenged Dominion parts. "You look like you hacked a god," muttered Rainier, her wiry, grease-stained friend, as she entered his gear shack. "Maybe I did," she replied, tossing the scorched data rig on his counter. Rainier raised an eyebrow. "That's Dominion mesh. Deep core archives." Kayla nodded. "It knew my family code." He blinked, suddenly more serious. "That's not possible. Dominion purged all human deep lineage tags from public archives a century ago." She stepped forward. This one wasn't public. Rainier pulled a dusty, leather-bound tome from under the table. It wasn't digital. It wasn't even legal. "Someone gave this to me last cycle," he said. "Said I'd know who it's for when I saw her eyes." He handed it over. The title read, Codex, The Bloodkeepers, Last Stand of Earth. Kayla flipped through hand-drawn schematics of armor, notes in Old Earth script, and one page that made her stop breathing. A woman stood amid scorched battlefield ruins, holding a plasma spear. Burnt earth around her. Blood on her hands. A tattooed glyph glowing on her spine. Her glyph. Same as Kayla's. She staggered back, spine tingling. "This can't be real." "It's not supposed to be," Rainier said softly. "The Dominion made sure of that." Kayla's fingers curled into fists. "They killed my mother for less. What if this was what they were afraid of?" Rainier looked uneasy. "You need to hide this. Burn it. Forget it." "No." She stood straighter now. Her voice didn't shake. I want to know the truth. That night, she returned to her hideout, an abandoned metro car welded into the husk of an old supply station. She couldn't sleep. The book lay open beside her, the woman with the glyph staring back like a memory she hadn't earned yet. Outside, the city's hum grew quieter, as if it too were waiting. She lifted her shirt and looked in the mirror. The glyph pulsed again, just once. Then her ears popped. The world shifted. And a voice, mechanical but human, whispered inside her skull. Bloodkeeper lineage confirmed. Neural access unlocked. Initiating memory sync. Stand by. Kayla screamed, dropping to her knees. But no one came. No one ever did. And somehow, that made her stronger. Chapter 2, The Bloodkeeper Protocol. Kayla couldn't move. Her body trembled, not from pain, but from something deeper. As if an ancient part of her DNA had just woken up and didn't know what world it was in. She lay curled on the cold floor of her metro hideout, blinking against the flickering lights overhead. Inside her skull, silence replaced the voice. But her mind hadn't gone back to normal. Every corner, every line of code she'd ever seen, every fight she'd barely survived, was replaying behind her eyes with impossible clarity. She could see movement patterns, drone heat maps, security gaps she'd missed before. Something had changed. By dawn, she sat cross-legged, wrapped in an old thermal blanket, the codex in her lap. The glyph on her back had cooled, but the silence wasn't peaceful. It was heavy. Like something waiting for permission to speak. She gave it. Who are you? A low chime echoed in her mind. Designation, RAVN 17. Human Tactical Support AI. Online. Kayla nearly bit her tongue. Tactical AI? Like a war program? Correction. I am the final generation Bloodkeeper Protocol, an embedded combat and survival enhancement system. Authorized to sync with Bloodline carrier marcode _773_Kefra. Her pulse quickened. That's me. Confirmed. Genetic match authenticated. Activating basic orientation protocol. Suddenly, her vision changed. Everything slowed. The old metro walls became grids, weak points highlighted in ghost light. Riener's coat, hanging nearby, showed thermal traces. Her own heartbeats pulsed in rhythmic intervals on the edge of her sight. She blinked, and the world returned to normal. Combat overlay demonstration complete. Neural latency, minimal. Subject potential, high. Kayla exhaled sharply. This is real, then. Not a dream. Not a glitch. Reality confirmed. Later that day, she climbed toward the inner zones of Vornis Theta, through derelict pipes and gravity-scarred tunnels only the desperate still used. Her destination wasn't on any Dominion map. It was a place whispered in the subnet under the tag Hermit01. An exiled monk bot. Part biological, part ancient Terran tech. One of the last cybernetic hybrids of the old Earth reclamation. If anyone could tell her the truth about the Codex, and RAVN-17, it was him. She found him beneath the burned-out husk of an old weather station, legs folded, body cloaked in robes layered with dust and torn solar thread. His faceplate was cracked. His voice was like wind scraping rust. "I've been waiting for you," he said. Kayla hesitated. "How do you know me?" "You carry the glyph. And you came when RAVN activated. I felt its ping across the subnet's underlayers, like thunder rolling through bedrock. You were Bloodkeeper support? I am nothing now. But I was once Seraph 6, keeper of neural archives. RAVN-17 was our crown jewel." He raised a trembling hand and touched her forehead. A wave of images burst inside her mind, humans in exo-armor, AI-linked soldiers moving like one organism, Dominion fleets retreating in fear. This was us?" Kayla whispered. He nodded. "Before the Great Redact. Before Dominion propaganda erased our victories and called them myths." She knelt beside him. "Why me? Why now?" Because you survived. Your family protected the line. That glyph, it's not just cosmetic. It's your neural key. And your weapon. Kayla swallowed. I'm not a soldier. You will be. That night, Kayla trained in silence. RAVN guided her through motion drills, posture corrections, eye focus recalibration. At first, she stumbled. But with each repetition, her body began remembering things it had never learned. Strike. Sidestep. Parry. Counter. She broke apart old steel pipes for practice. By the third hour, her strikes no longer wavered. And her mind felt clearer than it ever had. The next day, the city roared awake with alarms. A Dominion dread cruiser hovered above the sector. Dozens of skiffs deployed enforcers across the slums. The net lines buzzed, human insurgent identified. Armed. Dangerous. Bounty, 40,000 credits, dead or alive. Kayla didn't need confirmation. It was about her. The file trace. The glyph. The AI. She was marked. Rainier found her at dusk, panting, carrying a hacked comstone. Dominion knows, he said. They locked down 10 blocks. Their sweeping faces. Kayla stood calmly, arms crossed, RAVN humming gently beneath her skin. Let them come. You're not thinking straight. I'm clearer than ever. I'm done hiding. She turned toward the upper market lanes, where bounty hunters roamed with scanners and stunners. She didn't bring weapons. She didn't need to. 3 bounty thugs cornered her under a broken glow sign. One aimed a tranquilizer dart. You're Kayla Marin, he said. They want you. We'll make it painless. Kayla tilted her head. The world slowed again. Target acquired. Trajectory predicted. Win factor, minimal. Engage? Engage, she whispered. She ducked the dart, struck the first man's solar plexus, shattered the second's knee with a single twist, then knocked the last unconscious with a vertical elbow to the jaw. All in under 6 seconds. People stared. Silent. Humans. Veil. Even drones paused their sweep. Rainier rushed up behind her, eyes wide. You just did that barehanded. She looked at her palms. No blood. No tremor. Just control. Later that night, in the shadows of an abandoned signal tower, Kayla finally let herself feel it, the storm inside her. Fear, awe, anger. All braided into purpose. RAVN, she said softly. What now? Protocol escalation, survival, infiltration, resistance. Shall we begin? She nodded once. The old myths weren't dead. They were encoded. And she had just awakened one. The lockdown began at midnight. All entrances to Sector 9 were sealed, drones stationed on every skyrail, shock troopers lined the alleys, and Veil surveillance towers pulsed red above the skyline like watchful, blinking gods. Dominion protocol was clear, anything that moved was scanned, tagged, or shot. Kayla moved anyway. Not as prey. Not anymore. She slipped through shadows with RAVN-17 mapping every patrol route in real time, tracking thermal footprints through walls, calculating timing down to milliseconds. 20 seconds before next camera sweep. Proceed now. Her boots whispered across broken ferroglass as she scaled the fire pipe of an abandoned hab block. From here, she could see the broadcast tower's glowing antenna 2 clicks away, her target. The plan was simple. Break in. Upload the ancient footage from the Bloodkeeper Codex. Prove to every citizen watching that the Dominion had lied. That humans weren't weak. That they once fought gods and made them bleed. And could again. Down below, in the tangle of old industrial roads, Rainier and a small band of outcasts moved in coordinated silence. He held a data prong tucked into his sleeve. If Kayla didn't make it, he would. It was a failsafe. But even he didn't believe it would come to that anymore. Not after what she'd become. Inside the tower, Dominion techs barely glanced up from their monitors. "This insurgent girl, Kayla," one muttered, flicking through surveillance logs. "Probably just another delusional fringe radical. They always burn out." "No," another said grimly. "High Command pulled old Earth schematics. The glyph she bears matches something ancient." Commander Malver requested direct oversight. They both fell silent as the lift doors slid open. And the commander stepped in. Clad in gleaming obsidian armor lined with golden fractal veins, Malver moved like a man carrying an empire on his back. His face was scarless, cold and pale with eyes like molten glass. There was no hatred in them. Just calculation. "Status," he said. "She hasn't breached perimeter. Drone reports are inconclusive." "She will." She did. Kayla entered through the undercarriage. Used an abandoned fiber line to bypass the subgrid. Knocked out a patrol with a stun loop crafted from Rhaenyr's spare tools. Each movement guided by Rav's whispers. Silence achieved. 2 guards in the next hallway. Suggested strike pattern, double takedown, throat pulse neutralization. "I know," she murmured. "Let me try it without you." A pause. Acknowledged. She didn't hesitate. 2 guards. 2 steps. 2 silences left behind. She didn't even breathe hard. On the 12th floor, a lift opened unexpectedly. Commander Malver stood waiting. His armor pulsed faintly as he stepped into the hallway, scanning the walls as if sniffing for presence. Kayla flattened herself against the wall, heart slamming. "He's enhanced," RAVN warned. "Exosuit syncs with Dominion Command AI. Direct confrontation is not advised." "I'm not here to fight." "He is." Malver's voice rang across the corridor. "Kayla Marin. Daughter of blood and myth." She stepped out. Unarmed. "You're afraid," she said evenly. "Of history?" "Never." "No. Of memory. That people might remember who we were." Malver tilted his head. "You are a mistake. A dangerous one. And I intend to erase it." With a flick, he launched a kinetic pulse from his suit. Kayla barely rolled aside in time. The wall behind her exploded. She sprinted, using the debris as cover, weaving through flames and smoke. RAVN activated emergency reflex protocols. Kayla's movements became a blur, dodging, rebounding, striking back. She landed a palm to Malver's neck joint, his armor sparked. But he barely staggered. "Impressive," he said. "But untrained. Emotional." "I'm human," she spat. "Exactly." He raised his gauntlet, aiming a high-voltage burst directly at her. But Kayla grinned. Rhaenyr's failsafe had activated. The tower screens flickered. All across the Dominion grid, every open feed, every public terminal, changed. A projection bloomed above the tower. An ancient battlefield. Real, unsimulated. Humans in primal armor, glyphs glowing, facing off against Dominion ancestors. In the center, a woman with Kayla's eyes drove a plasma blade into a Veil warlord's throat. They bled. They screamed. They lost. And humanity stood over their ashes. Gasps filled the city. Even the guards watching from rooftops paused. Even Malver blinked. Kayla struck then, one calculated hit to his unguarded neck plate. He fell, stunned, shocked not by pain, but by fear. "Bloodkeepers never died," she whispered. "We just waited." She didn't kill him. That wasn't the point. She let him watch. As humans, outcasts, low-caste Veil and hybrid slaves, all of them, stared at the screen and saw the truth. That the legends were real. That Kayla was proof. And she had bled to wake them up. That night, as the Dominion scrambled to control the narrative, Kayla sat alone atop the tower, wind tearing through her coat. RAVN hummed softly. "Upload complete." Bloodkeeper myth reclassified, truth. Kayla looked out at the lights flickering below. You think they'll come for me harder now? I think they already are. Good, she said. Let them. Next protocol? She looked up at the stars. At the empty place where Earth used to shine. Rebuild, she said. Train others. Make sure no one forgets again. And the glyph on her back lit the darkness. Like fire. Like memory. Like war. The tower fell quiet after the signal. Across the galaxy, millions had watched what Kayla broadcast, an ancient battle unearthed from the shadows of time. Across mining colonies, forgotten fringe worlds, and Dominion-run pleasure zones, whispers traveled faster than ships. Bloodkeepers were real. She carries the glyph. She didn't run from Malver, she beat him. But truth, no matter how sharp, does not end war. It begins one. 3 days after the broadcast, Kayla stood in a rain-beaten loading bay beneath the surface of Vornis Theta. Behind her, crates of scavenged armor and salvaged weapons waited, some no better than junk, others carrying ancient Terran markings. Around her, the once scattered outcasts were gathering. Humans. Hybrids. Even 2 defected Dominion tech primes who'd watched the footage and chosen exile over shame. She still didn't like giving speeches. So she didn't. She stood, gloved hands resting against her hips, and let RAVN project the footage again, shorter this time, focused only on the moment the Veil Warlord bled, and the Earthborn woman raised her glyph-streaked arm to rally a charge. That was enough. They didn't need promises. They needed belief. 55 volunteers, Rainier said quietly as they walked deeper into the hideout tunnels. And more watching. Some too scared to step forward, yet. Kayla nodded. Fear is natural, she said. So is what comes after. He looked sideways. And what's that? Fire. That evening, she trained beside the old monkbot, Seraph 6, whose body now lay permanently seated, his energy core fading by the hour. His voice had slowed. His thoughts too. But he had one last memory shard to give. It's from the final days, he said, placing the chip in her palm. The fall of Earth's last dome city. You must see it. You must understand what was lost, and why they erased it. Kayla didn't hesitate. She placed the shard against her neck. The world changed. Not in images, but in feeling. She stood on glass plains, staring up at shattered sky panels. All around her, Earthborn soldiers fought in silence, outnumbered, outgunned, yet somehow unbroken. A child sobbed in a corner as her mother passed her a cracked rifle and whispered. Remember what they did. Remember who you are. Kayla opened her eyes. Tears tracked her cheeks. Seraph 6 smiled faintly. Now you know. You don't carry a weapon. You carry memory. Then he dimmed. And the tunnels were one whisper quieter. She didn't mourn long. The Dominion didn't give time for it. Within hours, Sector 9 was marked for demolition, official reason, containment breach. In truth, it was punishment. Intimidation. Cleanse the infection before belief could spread. They sent an airstrike drones. Kayla stood on the top floor of a broken skyhub and watched the skies fill with smoke. RAVN, she said, how many armed? 70 drones. High-altitude class. Missiles locked. And defenses? Insufficient for full intercept. Evacuation advised. She didn't move. Not until Rainier patched through a secure line. Kayla, what do we do? If we run, they'll just wipe the others. If we stay, we make them bleed. She grabbed the old launcher from a weapons rack, a relic with scorched human engravings, and sprinted for the lift shaft. She fired the first shot from the wrecked rooftop of a biofarm, bringing down the lead drone in a flare of smoke and screeching metal. Then all hell broke loose. Explosions tore the air. Civilians ran through flame-lit corridors. Kayla, moving like liquid through chaos, shouted orders, directing fighters into alleys, moving children to reinforced bunkers, using Rav's tactical overlays to intercept squads before they reached the weak points. 2 drones breached the tunnel roof. Kayla hurled a pulse mine and shielded a boy with her own body. Dust rained. Silence followed. Then, clapping. Slow. Echoing. Malver, helmetless, blood drying along one temple, stepped out from the smoke. "You don't give up," he said. Kayla rose slowly. "And you don't learn." He drew his blade, veil-forged, curved and burning. Kayla raised her fists. "Do not engage," Ravn warned. "Tactical disadvantage present." "Override," she said aloud. "I'm not running." They clashed. Steel screamed against steel. Sparks danced as Kayla struck, blocked, countered, each movement faster than the last. But Malver was strong. Augmented. He drove her back, sweeping low with a strike that cracked concrete. She stumbled. He raised the blade. "You are a flicker," he sneered. "Now extinguish." But then the outcasts came. Not warriors. Not soldiers. Children. Vendors. Mechanics. They surrounded Malver, each holding makeshift weapons, iron bars, scrap shields, a broken drone wing. He hesitated. Kayla stood again. "You see it now," she said, blood on her lips. "The glyph didn't make me powerful. They did." And she drove her knee into his armor joint, snapping circuits. Malver dropped. They didn't kill him. Kayla didn't need to. They chained him in the public square, live streamed to the sector, where people could look into the eyes of the man who said humans were obsolete, and see fear. Real, quiet fear. The kind only truth can bring. That night, the stars above Vornis Theta seemed closer. The glyph on Kayla's spine pulsed faintly, not in warning, but in rhythm. A rhythm echoed in every heartbeat around her. Ravn spoke softly. "You've done more than survive." Kayla nodded. "I know." "What now?" She looked at the flames still flickering on the horizon. Past them, other worlds. Other sectors still silent. "Now," she said, "we awaken them all." And so she began again, training the first true generation of Bloodkeepers in nearly 2 centuries. Not to fight for war, but to ensure no one forgot again.